friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here for another garden update, and still focusing on some of the different areas in our backyard. And today I'm going to do that bigger section right in the center and explain what's happening there. So for those of you who are new to my channel, I do a series every year on my garden, and it changes every year on how I'm growing things and what we've added and expanded and so on and so forth. So you can find all the 2022 updates I've done so far in a single playlist that I'll be linking to in the description box down below. And also know that all of the gardening that we're doing, or most all of the gardening we're doing right now, is right here in our shy 1/3 acre lot in a neighborhood. Just a corner lot, and we've got a lot of buildings on here too, and so we're working around that space as well. And we will be expanding more out soon to one of our other pieces. It's just right down the road. But what we're doing here, we just keep pushing ahead on this area right here because it's right here. It's right, you know, it's just right outside the door, so it makes it easy for harvesting stuff. Okay, so let's get to part 2 of the back gardens. All right, so I'm starting here on the deck again because that's where I am, and you might see that, well, we went ahead and invested in a new set because we've got our family get together this weekend, and Patrick doesn't have time to build a tabletop right now with so many other projects going on for the old set. But the good news is, not only do I love this set, but the old set is going to be used out of the property. So we'll have more comfy chairs out there, and when Patrick makes the tabletop for that one that shattered, that one that's, I think, 24 years old, then we'll have that out there too. So when we have our family gatherings, they'll have more places to sit and sit at. So just so you can see how the grapevines are coming along. This is with me consistently pruning them back to keep them from totally overtaking the deck while trying to leave the grapes intact and making sure they still have plenty of leaves for collecting all that they need. So grapes right there. So despite how late everything's been, it looks like I should still be able to get a good supply of grapes. All right, let's get out here to this section out here so you can see this is how it looks like walking out the deck, walking out the gate that Patrick made last year to keep the chickens off the deck. And he has a video on how he made those. I love them because they swing both ways. So I don't need my hands to push through here. Okay, so what I keep calling the main garden section, just because it used to be the main garden section, has changed so much in the past several years. So if you go back and watch my garden videos from 2016 when I first started my channel, some things are the same, such as where I grow my main batch of beans over there. Those are the same, but a lot of the other stuff here has changed. So what you'll see back here, this wall of green, that is all marshmallows. And you can see they can get pretty tall. They get at least 8 feet. They can go 10 feet. They can get pretty tall. So they're getting flowers up there. And then closer here, what you're seeing is valerian. I just cut a whole bunch off here yesterday because I'm saving the seeds to put up on my store of the valerian. But yes, I do collect the leaves and use those. And if the stalks happen to break off because of the wind and the seeds haven't matured, I'll dehydrate the flowers too. So let me explain all this. And no, it might to some people look like a mess. I actually think it's starting to look kind of pretty, but I love it when my borage comes in. So there's several herbs in here that I just allow to grow and do their thing, because what this area has become mostly is a section for me to grow. All these herbs you see are growing for the sake of their seeds, so those go up on my store. And I did plant some random nasturtiums in there just because I had them, and I just wanted to put them in somewhere and add some more color out here. Really young corn. This is the last batch that I started here. And then the borage, I've got some red mustard growing out there. Again, just letting a lot of this stuff go to seed. And then the borage I grow also because it's great for drawing in the bees. Bees love the borage. I might not do corn over here again next year. We'll see. But this is much farther behind the corn on that side, which I'll get to in a minute so you can see the difference. But as I keep saying, when it comes to my annuals, all of my annuals, all of them are a month behind. Some of my perennials are a month behind, such as the echinacea. But some of my perennials, like the mints, are just right on time. No problem. I've been cutting a lot off of this mojito mint, and it's become its own little hedge here. So now I just have to keep it, pruning it down so it doesn't totally overshadow everything in this other garden section. So most of my borage right now is right here, and then you can see my more mature corn back there. So I should still, at least off this batch here, I should still get some corn off of it, even though it's really, really late. At least the plants here are looking healthy. So I think if it wasn't for putting the polycarbonate on each side, because there's some on the other side of these beans here, I don't think the corn would look as good as it does. And I don't even think the beans, even though they're still very, very behind, I don't even think they would look as good as they do right now. And see one of my chickens over there in their chicken yard. They're allowed to roam all around the backyard except for the fenced in areas, which they do get to roam these areas all late summer through early spring to dig around in here and eat bugs and whatever else. So you can coming back over this side, you can see this is actually the honeysuckle I just recently moved. It was one of my smaller ones, and I took it out of a pot from the front deck, and at first I wasn't sure how it was going to do. It looked a little sad for a while, but now it's really taken off. No new flowers yet, but there are some coming. But that was after I harvested its first batch of flowers. Then I moved it out here. And then if you saw my lavender video, I had actually cut, it's very shady right here. It's morning too, so I actually cut this way back, and I'm going to cut it back much farther. So part of it is I'm trying to figure out how much I can get away with. And look at that. I cut these far back, and everywhere I cut, no matter how short, new growth comes on. So I'm glad to see that. As such, I'm going to cut this much shorter. I don't want it too much shorter than that, but all this here is new growth since I hacked it clear back to almost the dry stems, and some places down to the dry stems and farther back. So, and somebody else shared that she knows someone who cuts theirs all the way back a couple of times a year. So I might start doing that. Now the pineapple weed, that's another one I allow to grow. The borage, these are things I just allow to grow. If they start to get too thick, I remove them, but for the most part, I'll leave them. It just depends. I'll let it grow amongst the corn. I let it grow amongst the beans. And I don't know if you can see this, but there are bees out here. It's still morning, so not as many bees as I'll see later. I'm not seeing any honeybees right now, but they will be here later in the day. Oh, let me come over to this other side of this, because I forgot. I do have some, there's been a lot of changes here. Now right there is some lamb's ear. Last year, the lamb's ear was thick all the way across this section. But for some reason, only a little bit of it came back. And so far, no flowers on these. I have flowers on the ones in the side yard, but not here. But there anyway is chicory, also growing for the sake of my chickens. But this plant right here, specifically for the seeds. And then I have other plants I allow to grow so I can dry the leaves and add it to the chicken feed and so on and so forth. And then the other thing I wanted to point out is that is the licorice I started last year. I had it in a little pot all through the winter, this past winter, and kept it up against the house to keep it protected, and just wanted to watch it. And then when I seen in the spring it was doing pretty well, I decided, I picked out a spot and moved it here. And so then what you're seeing, yes, I got to get in here, weed yet again, but this is all grass clippings I laid down because I had this section here totally fenced in, and it was hard to get in there and keep it cleaned out. But now we took the fencing out from there. That was to keep for a while, to keep the chickens completely out of this area all around the circumference of this other section of garden. But now come probably even as early as next month, I'm going to let the chickens start tilling around in here, and because it'll be safe. Oh, and that's a fig that someone had sent me, and I think it was Debunker that sent me that fig, and I finally moved it here. It's finally happy now that I found a good spot for it. But anyway, the thick layer of grass clippings to help kill some of the weeds and grass that are there. And obviously you can still see there's a lot of grass I need to clean up, but at least that's given me a start to get that area cleaned up here. So that's working pretty well. And then you can see over here the covered area I talked about last week, and then the other area we're going to cover, the chicken coop over there, and up there Sorry for the sun. That's the kids' old playhouse, and eventually will be the grandkids' playhouse once they're big enough to start going up in there. And then I think next week I'll probably talk about what's happening in the greenhouse. But I do want to just talk about this area real quickly. I mentioned it last week, but what's happened is the grapevines have come across our blackberries here, and I'm still debating how much I want them to grow in there, but I'll see how compatible they are with the blackberries. We are getting blackberries. Blackberries around here, the good ones, they usually aren't even ready until September, late August to September. And we can pick blackberries clear up through October. So anyway, I just wanted you to see that. So there's only 3 grape plants planted around the deck. So let me go this way. And you can see I got stuff hanging there. Those are seeds drying in that pillowcase. Valerian seeds, I got them hanging in the sun. But right here is this came across here last year. So I'm really liking this. So it goes right over the walkway. And I have grapes coming on there. That's going to be so cool. So I decided to go ahead and leave that. Normally I kind of keep pruning it back so it doesn't overtake everything. But just like in here, I'm just kind of wanting to see what it does. The grapes are intended to go across there. But to have them come this way is fairly a new thing. I just kind of want to see what happens. And this is a plum tree that started out in a pot, and we know is grown through the pot. No plums, but we still have I think we got a couple plums on it once. Right now we're just kind of letting it be a trellis for the blackberries and the grapes. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed my garden update for the week. Thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.